Hey guys, before we get into today's video, I want to give a real quick shout out to today's sponsor, Virtual Shield VPN. And the reason I promote it, guys, is because I use it every single day and I know that it works, and I've proven it in videos in the past. If you use the link in the description, you're going to get 50% off, and that's going to help you protect your identity, your activity, and your location anytime you're surfing on the net. That link is in the description below.
I can't stand when mainstream media talks about, and mainstream media in Washington, D.C. just talks about billions like it's a nothing number. And the sad part about it is we're actually moving at a point in time where we keep talking about trillions and trillions, and then they're going to start talking about quadrillions. Guys, these are massive, unfathomable numbers. Now you've got the White House requesting $10 billion for Ukraine aid as part of a broader emergency funding request. And guess what else they're going to stick into that? It's not a $10 billion bill. It's going to be, or request. It's a $32.5 billion request. Guess who gets the lion's portion of that? Well, I'll let you know here in a second, but let's put the number billion into perspective. We've talked about this before, but I think people really can't grasp this. If you spent $1,000 an hour, how long would you have to live to spend your first $1 billion? It's staggering. $1,000 an hour, not $1,000 a day. $1,000 an hour, which is $24,000 a day. You would have to live for, it's like 41,666 days, which is 114.15 years. You have to live 114 years to spend your first $1 billion. That's what we're talking about here. Oh, hey, the United States has deep pockets. It's not like we're $30 trillion in debt or anything, not counting unfunded liabilities like Social Security and Medicare, which the number just goes off the charts. Yeah, we got plenty of money to give to the Ukrainians. Plenty. Oh, you didn't have any for, I don't know, supplying insulin for those insulin dependent kids in America. You didn't have 10 billion laying around to help the 500,000, 600,000 now homeless people. How about taking care of the vets, the veterans? How about that? And I'm not, again, every time I say this, somebody's like, you're advocating the violence of the state to extort more money from us so they can give to these good causes. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you got that money laying around for the Ukrainians and this other entity that I'm about to tell you about, included in this White House request, and you know they're going to go for it. You know they're going to be shamed into going for it. Oh, you must not be for Ukraine. You must not care about the people of Ukraine. Well, guess what? We're going to get into that a little bit too. The White House has asked lawmakers to approve $10 billion in lethal and humanitarian aid for Ukraine as part of a $32.5 billion emergency funding request sent to Capitol Hill. Just let it sink in. Just let it sink in. And I constantly go back to what Rahm Emanuel said. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Hey, we got a crisis. Why don't we fund that crisis? Gives you an opportunity to do the things you couldn't otherwise have done if there wasn't a crisis on the landscape. And then go ahead and shame everybody who's not on board with it. What do you mean you're not for giving $10 billion to the Ukrainians? You don't care about Ukrainian children or something? It's like, yeah, I care about Ukrainian children. But I also care about stealing from the unborn children in America. They're going to have to pay for this nonsense. And how do you know we, including the United States and all the NATO allied forces, didn't start all this stuff so that they could shoot another $10 billion at the problem anyway? How do you know? You don't care about the children. Get off my back, man. The request follows weeks of discussions. Oh, it just took weeks. Let's come up with $10 billion between White House officials and lawmakers about the shape of any potential emergency request, which was expected to focus heavily on the COVID's 1984 by George Orwell needs. But the escalating Russian invasion has dramatically increased the size of the specific request for Ukraine. Dramatically increased. Gives you an opportunity to do things you couldn't have done if there wasn't a crisis. Guys, if crises yield this kind of dividend, can you ever expect the government not to manufacture a crisis in the future? As long as there are profits in crisis, there will be little incentive for peace. As long as there are profits in war, there will be little incentive for peace. But we're just sending lethal and humanitarian aid. And it's so funny. You even got CNN now going, oh, it's a great thing that the Ukrainian citizens, the people of Ukraine, are being issued AK-47s. It's cool to see them just getting together and manufacturing Molotov cocktails out there. How about Americans? So wait a second. You've all of a sudden, gun violence has evaporated in the sunlight of Russia has invaded Ukraine. Give the citizens guns. Wait, what about your argument that, hey, Bambi's not wearing a Kevlar vest? Second Amendment isn't written for Bambi in the woods and deer hunting and providing for your family by getting meat out of the forest. It's written because psychopathic governments do the very thing that you're saying Russia's doing to Ukraine. Lawmakers are in the midst of negotiations over a long-term funding deal. Long-term funding deal. That just sounds so good, doesn't it? And face a March 11th deadline to reach an agreement. We got a deadline, man. We got to continue to rape and pillage and economically devastate the American people so we can provide for people in other countries. That's just what we do because we're humans. The Ukraine funds are expected to be attached to any final deal, but the process remains fluid. Oh, of course it does. It remains fluid because they got to keep this all open-ended so that they can continue to add more and add more as time advances. I just want to show you the detailed funding request provides $4.8 billion to the Department of Defense because we know they need that, including $1.8 billion for support in the region as U.S. military units support U.S. European Command and the NATO response forces, $1.3 billion for cybersecurity and other defense support, $1.8 billion to replenish the Department of Defense Department stocks. It also calls for $5 billion for the Department of State and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, including $2.8 billion in humanitarian assistance like food and other support, $500 million in military assistance through foreign military financing program, and $1.8 billion in economic assistance to help support continuity of government and the resilience of the Ukrainian people, as well as emergent needs in the region. And this is all kind of hit home when everybody was wearing the Ukraine little lapel pins and the scarves and were waving their little flags. It almost seems like, and I'm just spitballing here, but it almost seems like predictive programming. The request also provides $21 million for the Department of Commerce to bolster export controls. But look at this. Here's the big one. Here's the lion's share. The White House has also requested $22.5 billion in immediate needs for the ongoing COVID-19 84 response, including funding for treatments, testing, and VAXXs, as well as money for work to protect against future variants and efforts to VAXX more people globally. So who's that going to go to? Oh, I don't know, the VAXX manufacturers. As long as there are profits in pharmaceuticals, there will be little incentive to teach you how to just live a healthy lifestyle. It's egregious. What's going on is egregious. The $10 billion, the $32.5 billion, all the money they're shoveling over to the big pharma industrial complex, and with this, the military industrial complex. Do you really think all that, in every last penny of that $10 billion is actually going to make its way to the Ukrainians? How many fingers do you think are going to be in that big fat $10 billion pie right there? And how many fingers in the $32.5 billion pie? And guys, what's sad about this is, as big as a billion is, and as big as 10 billion and 32.5 billion is, oh, there's more. There's way more. While we have time and it still retains some of its perceived value, maybe it'd be a good idea to convert your worthless fiat into valuable, storable food. Don't be the one who waits till the food riots start happening. You don't want to be fighting panicking people in the store over that last jar of peanut butter. At Prepare with High Impact Flicks, you can get up to 3 air and watertight gasket sealed ammo cans, each filled with a 4-week emergency supply. 7 food varieties, 2,000 calories a day, 284 servings, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and each meal comes in a resealable, heavy-duty 4-layered pouch. And it's got a 25-year shelf life.
Every order of a 4-week supply gets you $100 off plus free shipping. Here's how simple it is to make. I'm gonna cook up some Granny's home-style potato soup. People are gonna think I'm a culinary hero. You open the pouch, boil 4.5 cups of water, stir the contents, simmer on low heat for 15 to 20 minutes, take it off the heat, then let it set for 2 to 3 minutes before you serve it up.
Man, this stuff's so good, people are gonna think Granny stopped by and filled your kitchen with a whole bunch of love.
Well, if Granny does stop by, she's gonna fill your behind with a whole bunch of buckshot if you keep talking with your mouth full. Wipe your dang beard off. It's embarrassing. So maybe convert some of your worthless fiat into valuable food while you still can. Order now and get $100 off of up to 3 4-week emergency food supplies at preparewithhighimpactflix.com. The link is in the description.